On today's episode of Locked On Oilers, we go over the big win in Florida and just who should be playing alongside Leon Draisaitl on that second line. All that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Oilers podcast. I am your host and former Oilers game day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned on today's episode, we're going to start off with the Florida game as the Oilers get a massive result down in Florida. A big win for them as we will recap a little bit of the bits and bobs from that one. Yet not too extensive, but a couple of interesting notes coming out of Florida there. Then we are going to move on to who should play on that second line for the Edmonton Oilers alongside Leon Draisaitl, as some moving around happened and some success for the Oilers as the winger on Leon Draisaitl's line would go on to score the game winner. But is it sustainable? We will talk about that a little later. And then to wrap up today's show, we're going south to Bakersfield as we go through our weekly Bakersfield Condors Report. And they're good. All that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcasts. Alrighty, let's get into the Florida game as the Edmonton Oilers come away with a massive result in Florida. A big 4-2 victory for the Oilers there as they pull off a win against a former good friend of ours, Matthew Tkachuk. But also, how about, speaking of old friends, Sam Bennett scoring the 2 goals for the Florida Panthers in that one. That's all you need to know about the Florida Panthers as the Edmonton Oilers win, as mentioned, 4-2. Let's go over the goals a little bit here. Tyson Barrie scoring the first and second goal of the game for the Edmonton Oilers. Ryan McLeod and Matthias Janmark getting the assist on the first goal, and it was unassisted on the second one. I want to mention, because you don't get stats for screening the goaltender, and it's very difficult to see and look around the big body of a 6'3", 215-pound Klim Kostin. And that certainly played a factor in Tyson Barrie's first goal of the game. That line, actually, it ended up being at one point Janmark, McLeod, and Kostin, instead of Foegele, McLeod, and Kostin, as Foegele ended up getting moved up. Holloway moved down to the fourth line, and we saw some success from that line. A lot, honestly, of offense generated from that line. And some of them turned into goals. Some of them turned into very solid chances. Looking at the Klim Kostin chance, putting it close on net. He played a very good game in that game. We'll talk about him a little bit more in just a bit. Then, as mentioned, the Oilers win 4-2, so the game-winning goal goes to a pretty sneaky shot from Warren Foegele, as he scored again on this trip here, assisted from Leon Draisaitl, Leon's 19th assist of the season. As I'm curious to see how Foegele, or if Foegele will be on the second line when we go up against, or when we see the Edmonton Oilers go up against the Los Angeles Kings. We will talk about that a little later on too, but it does kind of help. And then the icing on the cake, the insurance goal. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins scores his 8th goal of the season. Connor McDavid finally getting a point in that one. Almost, you're scared, thinking that Connor wasn't going to get a point. Did get a point, his 17th assist of the season. Alongside Jesse Puljujärvi. Don't hear anybody talking anything about that, though. Weird. Pretty quiet on the Western Front when Jesse Puljujärvi does well, but all of a sudden he goes a game without points and everyone goes... Anyways, Stuart Skinner. 40 saves on 42 shots. Starting to beg the question. You're taking a look. The games that Jack Campbell has played, and you go, I don't know. take a look at the games that Stuart Skinner has played and you go, okay. Has given the Oilers an opportunity to win in every single game. The Oilers were not severely outshot, but outshot again by a team who averages 40 shots a game anyways. Got 42 in this one. Pretty decent. Pretty decent for Stuart Skinner there. Now, here are some of the interesting notes from the game that we should really be maybe not taking out of it, but maybe something to take a look at for the rest of the season. Because again, maybe not even the rest of the season, for the next couple of games. The biggest thing for the Oilers is consistency. You see games like this against the Florida Panthers and go, okay, that's a good game. You see games against the Carolina Hurricanes and going, what is happening? But at the same time, at the start of the year in Edmonton, the Oilers beat the Carolina Hurricanes. And at some points, you could say, the Edmonton Oilers did outplay the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Hurricanes. Can you tell what I was doing Sunday? Then you can take a look at how the Edmonton Oilers played in the first game against the Calgary Flames, and then how they played in the second game against the Calgary Flames. You can also take a look at who was playing in net for both of those games as well, but consistency is the biggest thing for the Oilers. You can see the Oilers win these games. Then you see the Oilers lose the Hurricanes game and you go, why? How? You got to do something better. And what is it? Because it seems like there's always questions. Well, there's nobody playing next to Leon. Oh, the defense is this, that, and the other thing. But there's only A, so much you can change, and B, so many players you can bring in. It's the exact same defense every game. The goaltending situation is the goaltending situation. A good goaltending situation, if you want to put it that way. I see a lot of people do, and I kind of see it the same way. But there's continuity errors, and that goes from the lineup to the game to game to game. We saw it again in Florida. The fact that Warren Foegele, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman was the second line isn't fantastic. Especially considering your first-round pick from 2020, Dylan Holloway, started on that line. And then finished the game with 6 minutes and 55 seconds of time on ice. I don't want to hear this. He doesn't play on the power play. He doesn't play on the penalty kill. Well, first of all, he does play on the power play. He's on the second unit. And second of all, that doesn't matter. You got 60 minutes in a game for a guy who's supposed to be playing top 6 minutes. All of a sudden, he's playing on the fourth line. Not even on the second or on the third line. He goes straight down to the fourth line. Klim Kostin played more minutes than him. Klim Kostin in his first game as an Oiler, with all these question marks about who is this Klim Kostin guy, played 8 minutes and 2 seconds. And he deserved it. He played well. But that becomes the issue. He did play well. Has Holloway? I'm starting to lose favor in Holloway. But then at the same time, if you lose trust in Holloway, who's going to play on that second line with the Oilers for the Oilers? You don't really have a lot of players to do so. Well, let's get into that in just a second. I also just want to mention as well, for the Oilers in that game against the Florida Panthers, everyone did their job. So much so that Connor McDavid nor Leon Draisaitl had to score a goal, and both of them only got points in the last 2 goals of the game. Yes, they are kind of the more important goals, but again, only 1 point for them, which is saying something. But again, the Edmonton Oilers just need to find their consistency. But how are they going to do so when they don't have a second line winger? Well, let's go through the options for the Edmonton Oilers at the second line winger spot in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by SimpliSafe. If you thought about securing your home with home security, but have been putting it off, you'll want to listen up. Right now, Locked On Oilers listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you won't want to miss it. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. 24/7 professional monitoring service costs less than $1 a day. That is less than half of ADT's traditional professionally installed system. Plus, with the top-rated SimpliSafe app, stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere. Arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or simply just adjust your system settings. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That is simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Alrighty, as I reach over, of course, it's the farthest piece of notes away from me, but, excuse me there. You're probably wondering why your car is running after that little cough there. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen today. Now for your second listen, make sure you tune in to Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest story in sports. Go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights that only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you find your podcasts. Alrighty, let's get into the second line winger position for the Edmonton Oilers, as they've got a little bit of a problem. I'm going to call it now. They have a problem. I'm not calling it. But normally I'm the guy who goes, calm down, let time play itself out. Now here's the thing. The reports are coming out about Kyler Yamamoto that they aren't too concerned about his injury. Seems a little bit more of a day-to-day situation. Hopefully that day-to-day doesn't include Wednesday against the Los Angeles Kings, and hopefully it doesn't go into the weekend. What if it does? I'm concerned. I don't think that he will make the game against the Los Angeles Kings. And here's the thing. The Edmonton Oilers started that game against Florida with Dylan Holloway on that line with Draisaitl, and finished the game with Warren Foegele, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hammond. In theory, Dylan Holloway should make sense. But he has done almost the polar opposite of what everybody thought he would. My biggest things for him has been he hasn't been given enough time on the ice to show that he can do something. 6 minutes and 55 seconds in a game where you need to find a top six forward. Yes, Foegele did his job and did it well, got it done. But again, is that sustainable? I don't think so. Dylan Holloway in 12 games, no goals, 2 assists, 2 points. Has the worst plus-minus on the team with -6. He's tied with a couple other players. And has 4 penalty minutes. Missed a couple games with whatever that injury was. Got rocked. I forget who it was that threw the hit. A suicide pass from Warren Foegele in that case as well. But then you sit and look at his advanced stats as well. And you know me, I'm not a big analytics guy. I'm not using those JFresh charts and going, look at this guy. I swear my numbers are legit. But I like my favorite advanced stat of the goals for and goals against per 60. And I broke down the goals for and goals against per 60 minutes for 3 candidates for that left wing spot, or the winger spot really, on the second line. That's for Dylan Holloway, Warren Foegele, and I put in Ryan McLeod, because if you do play McLeod on that wing, maybe in just a dream world, you can put Holloway as the center on the third line, and then have a third line of like Foegele, Holloway, and Costin, or whatever it may look like. Because Foegele or Holloway can play center. And obviously, if Kane and Yamamoto are out, then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will be on the top line. So that kind of gets taken away there. So that's why I included Ryan McLeod. But let's start off with Dylan Holloway when it comes to the goals for and goals against per 60. I'm going to start off with in all situations. I'm only going to talk about Dylan Holloway's for right now, and then I'm going to compare everybody, because this is where the concern comes from. Dylan Holloway's goals against per 60 minutes in all situations, so 5-on-5, 5-on-4, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, penalty kill, power play, whatever. His goals against per 60 minutes in all situations sits at a 5.21. That's worse on. At 5-on-5, his goals against per 60 sits at 5.59, which is once again last on the Edmonton Oilers. Then, if you want to go for goals for per 60 minutes, in all situations, he sits at a 1.22, which is good for 17th on the Edmonton Oilers. And at 5-on-5, a 1.31 goals for per 60 minutes, good for 16th on the Edmonton Oilers. So he's out there, not really producing any scoring chances. Obviously, the puck isn't going in. But the puck is going in to his own net. It's on the edge. At least according to the worst goals against per 60 at both in 5-on-5 in and in every season. And you sit there. I've seen people talk about his giveaways, and I think that's a very lollipop version of saying that he does certain things with. I don't like that argument. I just think he's in the wrong position too often, and I don't think, in his own end, I should say. I think offensively he's pretty decent when it comes to positioning, actually quite good when it comes to positioning. He's always moving, always trying to get open. But he just doesn't know what to do defensively in the NHL yet. And if you're going to need somebody on that second line, you need somebody who knows what they're doing in their own end. And I don't think Dylan Holloway. Now, the interesting thing is, now let's take a look at the goals against per 60 in all situations in 5-on-5 for Warren Foegele and Ryan McLeod. The goals against per 60 for those two guys in all situations for Warren Foegele sits at a 2.34, which is good for 4th on the team. And for Ryan McLeod with 3.16, which is good for 9th on the team. Top 10, middle of the pack, not bad. The only people in front of Warren Foegele when it comes to goals against per 60 in all situations is Devon Shore, Kyler Yamamoto, and Evander Kane. So 2 guys who would already be put in that second line spot if they weren't injured. And Devon Shore. Put up Devon. Now in all situations, at 5-on-5, Ryan McLeod sits at a 2.3 goals against per 60, which is good for 6th on the team. And Warren Foegele sits at a 1.81 when it comes to goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. Good for 3rd. He jumps over Evander Kane in that stat. These numbers for Warren Foegele and Ryan McLeod, or the last place numbers for Dylan Holloway? Again, defensively. That is defense. Now let's take a look at the offense, because that is kind of where the more important, maybe not necessarily, but kind of the numbers where you pay a little bit more attention to. In all situations, Dylan Holloway sits at a 1.22, as mentioned, which is 17th on the Oilers. Warren Foegele sits at a 1.4, which is good for 15th on the Oilers. And Ryan McLeod has a 1.54, good for 14th on the Edmonton Oilers. In all situations. At 5-on-5, as mentioned, Dylan Holloway, 16th on the team with a 1.31. Warren Foegele sits 18th on the team with a 1.1. And Ryan McLeod, 17th on the team with a 1.29. 5 points for Ryan McLeod so far this year, the most out of any of the players on this list are 3 goals, 2 assists. He got a second assist in the Florida game. The Oilers need him really in the bottom 6, so I put him as that extra guy just in case you can do something fun. And it's tough to call him the best candidate. You don't want to put Warren Foegele there exactly, but at the same time, he has the best defensive numbers out of all of them. Maybe not the best offensive numbers, but he does have 2 goals, 1 behind McLeod there, 2 points behind McLeod as well. If Kyler Yamamoto's not good to go, who do you go with? Because I was literally about to say you go with Warren Foegele, but something inside my body said, don't you dare say that. So what do? You go Dylan Holloway, play him a little more. We all know that's not going to happen. Go with Warren Foegele. Are you okay with Warren Foegele? Going into a game, really, with Warren Foegele as the second line center or second line winger? And I'm going to throw the Ryan McLeod out because the Edmonton Oilers can't do it, especially considering they don't play Dylan Holloway at all. So he's not going to be a serviceable center in the third line spot. Yes, you can bump up Derek Ryan, but still, I wouldn't do that. I don't know. Not a big fan of it. What would you do? I'm very concerned for the Edmonton Oilers top 6. I think they need to make a move soon. Whether that's a top 6 guy, whether that's a defenseman, whether that's something, anything other than a center. Wouldn't mind a move. I wouldn't mind. And it doesn't have to be a world-beating move, just something that'll come in and help the team. And let's move on from the Edmonton Oilers and the big club. As mentioned, their next game comes on Wednesday against the Los Angeles Kings. Back home finally for a little bit. Yes, let's move on to Bakersfield, though, where those Los Angeles Kings are coming from, sunny California. Hopefully you're not a Morrissey fan, as they just canceled a show there. But let's move on to Bakersfield. We'll talk about Bakersfield in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. I'm talking from football to basketball, soccer, esports. They've got it all at BetOnline. Guys, the World Cup is literally starting on Sunday. Why have you not gotten your bets in yet? What are you doing? The research, the teams are out. You know what you're getting. And as well, if you love sports podcasts, you can find those as well at BetOnline. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All righty, let's wrap up today's episode with the Bakersfield Condor reports. Look, I got 2 notes today. Two whiteboards of notes. Sorry if you're on the audio app. I didn't mean to divert your attention from what you're doing. Don't look at me. Don't worry about me. Let's move into the Bakersfield Condors report. As the last time we spoke, or from the last time we spoke, Bakersfield Condors played 3 games and 3 wins, babe. Big results for the Bakersfield Condors. Starting off with the Henderson Silver Knights, a 6-3 victory for them in Henderson. They are the Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, they're the Silver Knights, the Golden Knights. I won't be surprised if next year their ECHL team is like the I don't know, something Bronze Knights. I don't know. Please laugh. Seth Griffith getting numerous points in this one, starting off the scoring with Luke Esposito and Alex Peters chipping in with the assist there. Then Carter Savoy getting his first goal of the season. He's coming off that injury, had a little bit of a tough injury in Penticton, now coming back and playing full-time with the Condors. Did get his first goal of the season in that one. Seth Griffith getting his second point of the night, his 7th assist on the season there. And then Phil Kemp. Remember Phil Kemp from the start of preseason? One of my favorite defensemen down there. He got an assist, or a goal, his second goal of the year, the assist to Greg McKegg. Yeah, the man. And then Carter Savoy getting his second goal of the game. 2 goals in that one for Savoy. As Jason Demers getting an assist. Coach Colin Chalk talking pretty highly of Greg McKegg. Jason Demers on Oilers Now, talking about his influence on Michael Kesselring, who we will talk about a little later on. And then Seth Griffith getting his 3rd point of the game on that one from Savoy. And he wasn't done. Phil Kemp scoring another goal in that one, with Tyler Tullio getting his 2nd assist of the season. And Seth Griffith, his 4th point of the game. 1 goal, 3 assists for Griffith. A massive game in Henderson for Griffith. And then this was before Matthias Janmark got the call up, but Matthias Janmark with a goal from Brubacher, one of the AHLers down there, and James Hamblin getting his 4th assist of the season, Then they went over to San Diego, as Ron Burgundy would call it. Got a big 2-0 win in that one. By the way, Calvin Pickard got the start in Henderson, 37 saves on 40 shots. And then he also got the start against San Diego, and you sit there after 40 shots and gets half of the workload. 20 saves on 20 shots for the shutout for Pickard there. And then pretty interesting goals here. Michael Kesselring scored in that one. That was his 6th goal of the season. Michael Kesselring has 6 goals this year. Leads the team in goals. Yeah, we'll go over points in a little bit more here, or stats in a little bit here, but yeah. Those Michael Kesselring. We talked about some shocking names at the start of the season. This is a shocking one there too. Jason Demers with another point there, getting an assist, and Raphael Lavoie getting his 1st assist of the year. And Lavoie wasn't done. He gets the insurance goal in that one in San Diego. His 2nd goal of the year from James Hamblin and Philip Kemp. Popping those peas for Philip Kemp. And then they wrapped up their most recent game against the Ontario Reign back home in Bakersfield, and a massive 3-1 victory in that one as Olivier Rodrigue got the start in that one, a good 27 saves on 28 shots in that one. Philip Ngardis getting 2 goals in that one, the first 2 goals for the Bakersfield Condors and the first 2 goals of his season this year. Jason Demers getting another point in that one, 5 assists for him this year, and Greg McKay getting another one too, also on the Ngardis first goal, and then Yanni Caldis getting one on the second goal from Ngardis. Brad Malone getting the final goal for the Condors in that one. That one was unassisted. And also scoring in that game, Quentin Byfield. Yeah, playing in the AHL this year, kind of having a tough one. Tough start to his career, professional career, but hey, got to go through it. Speaking of going through it, let's go through the Bakersfield Condors stats, because there's some very interesting names up there right now for the Bakersfield Condors. As mentioned as well, or as not mentioned, Xavier Bourgault, no points in those 3 games. So, but either way, let's take a look at the leaders in points for the Condors. As Seth Griffith, after his 4-point game in Henderson, is on top of the Condors list with 10 points on the year. James Hamblin, second on the team with 8 points. Michael Kesselring, third on the team with 7 assists. I just bit my tongue. That's okay. Or 7 points, excuse me. Not assists, 7 points. And Xavier Bourgault sitting 4th on the team with 6. Also tied with Philip Kemp. Now, here's the interesting part. As mentioned, the leading goal scorer for the Bakersfield Condors is Michael Kesselring. 6 goals on the year. And a lot of praise from Coach Colin Chalk for not only Demers, but Kesselring as well. They have been really working out, and just like he has said, there has been no better mentor for Kesselring this past year than Jason Demers. And he is really living out what should be. I mean, it's really the what you're seeing when it comes to Michael Kesselring is what you hope to see from guys like Evan Bouchard. I'm not comparing them, but what I am comparing is the differences in mentors. Evan Bouchard got Duncan Keith, and now Duncan Keith is gone, and you're seeing Evan Bouchard kind of going through what is happening. Like he kind of stunted his maturity, and like Brendan Escott said on Oilers Now as well today, I think a lot of people forget that, well, development isn't exactly linear, and that's what we're seeing from Bouchard. But now you're seeing with Jason Demers and Michael Kesselring is excelling, and they're seeing it in their locker room as well. Hopefully, now Michael Kesselring will take what he learns, and without Jason Demers next year, whatever may happen, he can still keep getting better for him as well. Let's continue on for the the goal leaders for the Bakersfield Condors. James Hamblin with 5 goals, and then a tie for third on the team with Xavier Bourgault and Philip Kemp. Again, one of my favorite defensemen, Kemp and Kesselring. I hope they play for the Oilers. I hope they're a defensive pairing, because they are just massive good. And then about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players tied for 4th on the team, 5th technically, for goals on the Condors. Matthias Janmark, Klim Kostin, 2 guys who are probably going to stay at 2 goals for a little while. Raphael Lavoie, Noah Philp, Carter Savoy, and Philip Ngardis, all with 2 goals on the year. And then you take a look at the assists. Seth Griffith with 9 assists on the year, 1 goal. So you're seeing the selflessness from Griffith there. James Hamblin with 5. Jason Demers also with 5. And then 4 players tied with 3 assists with Xavier Bourgault, Philip Kemp, Yanni Caldis, and Luke Esposito. To wrap up as well, the goaltenders, Olivier Rodrigue, weirdly enough, having better numbers than Calvin Pickard. 2.02 goals against average for Rodrigue, where Pickard has a 2.88. Still better than Jack Campbell, but also pretty nice numbers for Rodrigue when it comes to the save percentage. A .929 for him there, with Pickard getting a .904. So both over nines. That's good, but again, the big wins for the Bakersfield Condors there. A good, nice little time for them as well. They play the Calgary Wranglers, I believe, is their next games. A little bit of Canadian flair for that one. A little bit of, let's call it the Battle of Alberta. Let's wrap it up there as well. I hope you had a wonderful Monday. Stay safe. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today, where they have the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcast. I shall see you tomorrow with more chat around the team and what is going on with the Edmonton Oilers every day. I hope you stay safe. We shall see you then. And until then, play La Bamba, baby.